5 things to create wealth in 2022. I'm Bianca Hachi-Hazelman, the host and founder of Financy, and joining me today is Effie Zahos, who you've seen on Channel 9's Today Show, money expert of Money Magazine, and board director of several other organizations as well, and author as well. And I've already said this in my prelude, but a real girl's guide to money is something to definitely take a look at. Now, as we look at these, as we talk about the 5 things to build wealth in 2022, it's critical to think about why you're here today, the goals you want to set yourself, where you want to go. Are you looking for wealth protection? Are you looking to accumulate more assets? Are you looking to just take the leap? And so I really will urge you just once again to ask the questions that matter most to you. This is about you. This is why we put these masterclasses on. So to get straight into it, Effie, over to you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Bianca. I have long admired your work, and you're too kind with my intro, but it's women like yourself that really do make a difference. I am purely a communicator. I feel my role in the world is to make things simple, but it's you that are actually putting the changes in place. So well done, Infinity, for what you actually push out. And it's my first time actually being on one of your webinars, so I am super excited, a little bit nervous. I wouldn't have thought I'd be nervous.
But I wouldn't have thought that either.
I think talking to a whole group of women is always such a joy because for me, it's talking to myself in that regard. You know, there's nothing better than sitting down with your girlfriends and going through conversations like this and just getting empowered by everyone's story. So I do want to be clear here that I'm not a financial advisor. I count myself as a journo. I love saying a good story, getting the facts right, really kind of breaking it down and helping consumers just be that nudge that consumers need sometime to actually move ahead. My background is finance. I did a Bachelor of Economics at the University of Queensland, and I was joined in banking for a while, and then I met the lovely Mr. Paul Clitheroe. And I know I've said this story before, but it kind of sets the premise of what we're going to be chatting to about now. I remember going through that job interview. I had a cushy job with the bank, paid a mozza as a graduate, really, living the dream, working in the city. They bought, put me up in accommodation down at Milsons Point in Sydney, if you know that. It was a very expensive suburb. I thought I could afford the rent afterwards, but no, I couldn't when I realised what Sydney prices were like. And I remember going for a job interview with Paul, and Paul was a guru to me. I made sure I read all his books before the interview, was prepped and so on. And yeah, I remember him saying something along the lines, I'm going to give you one of the best tips that you'll ever get. And I'm thinking, gee, what is this tip? And he goes, it's not what you earn that counts. It's what you spend. And I thought, yeah, that makes sense. Not what you earn, what you spend. That seems like to be a no-brainer. And then he said, look, yeah, for that reason, I'll give you this job, but at half the salary. And I thought, oh, no, he got me good. I took the job and I have not looked back. And I guess that key message that I learned is something that I have kind of taken from him and used myself often. It's not what you earn that counts. It's what you spend. And personal finance is just that. It's personal. And we've seen over the past, since I guess the pandemic has broken out, there have been huge opportunities on an investment side. Some people have made ridiculous wealth. Others, unfortunately, it's hard putting food on the table. And it's been a crazy, wild time. And it all, to me, comes down to, it's not what you earn that counts, it's what you spend. I'm a journo wage. It's a good one. I'm not complaining at all, but I've got to make the best of what I have. And that's personal to me. And what you earn, you could be earning more, you could be earning less. But what I've learned over my 25 years plus is that I've met people on ridiculous income and they don't even know where their money's going. And they're really living from pay to pay. High income, but once that goes, they're finished. Then I've met others on like 60,000. And my gosh, they would do rings around me. They've got that budget so tight. They've got food on the table. They're putting their kids through school. They're saving. They've bought their investment property on 60,000. So it goes back to that number one rule that, that basically I thank Paul every day for showing me that. So I am now about to hopefully get this right and share it with you.
Can I just go back? Where did Paul, what was that first job with him?
Oh, sorry, that was with the Today Show. Oh,
with
sorry,
the Today Show.
That was the Money Show. So if you're old enough to remember that was way back before reality TV. Reality TV was huge. This was before we were watching cooking shows and the rest of them. So the Money Show was a half-an-hour program that really kind of was the first of its kind, where really for the first time we were talking to people about, buying a piece of the company, investing in shares. I mean, that was way back. I remember, I think Woolworths was like $2 or something. And it was a half-an-hour show. It rated its socks off. I think now a show like that would do very well. But, when you've got kind of, The Voice or cooking shows and so on, putting bums on seats, it'll be interesting to see how something like that would go. But it was the Money Show and it ran for some time. And then from the Money Show, I started Money Magazine in 1999. Yeah. So I'm hopefully, is this sharing at the moment, Bianca?
Yes, you're doing a great job.
Oh, my daughter just taught me that now. So that's great. Okay. So these are really simple points. But as Bianca said, I'm happy to deviate and go away from that. I think, Bianca, you're just going to throw some questions as they come up. Yep. I'll leave you in charge of all that. There's nothing magic here. And I guess for me, my success has been, I have kept my finances simple. It's basically, you are your greatest asset. Invest in yourself. Do save, do start investing, get some shares, whether that be directly or indirectly, get some property, whether that be a home, an investment, or both. Look after your super. That's basically my formula. And I have a plan and I follow it. And I think the very first tip here would be, have a look and see how you went last year and what did you do last year. I actually did this last weekend and I enjoy doing it. I do this once a year. I will sit down and I actually, I know I'm going to talk about apps and all that, but I'm kind of really old fashioned. I just got an Excel spreadsheet downloaded all my accounts, had a look at all the expenditure, uploaded it into my document, had a play around, highlighted the ones that will look crazy. What? I spent that amount on that. And then, I work backwards. But sometimes you have to actually look backwards in order to move forward. So I'm going to touch a little bit on reviewing your spending and why it's so important, and your behavior as well. Because I alluded a little bit at the beginning that I've met people say I'm 60,000, others on ridiculous income, and the ridiculous income can't seem to make it, the others do. One of the most interesting things I've learned over my period is it's not what you earn that counts. Like I said, it's what you spend, but also finding out, why do you do what you do with your money? Have a really good talk to yourself. There is a voice in your head and you know why what you do. And if you are open and honest with yourself, you actually kind of learn a lot about your money traits. And instead of being reactive, you become more proactive. So we'll talk about that. The second point is setting up a cash cushion. So important. Whilst I hate leaving money in the bank, I really do, because it is going backwards. I do have a substantial amount in a cash cushion. So it's a cash account. I move it around trying to chase the best interest rates. They're normally only for about 4 months. I'm constantly trying to change it because otherwise it becomes lazy money sitting there, lazy tax, not earning anything. But it's important to have that cash cushion. And we'll talk about that, why. Well, I don't really need to tell most of you why. We saw what happened with the pandemic and how crazy it was, where people were ripping money out of their super funds because they did not have a cash cushion. That gives me kind of some empowerment. That gives me like, you know what? If I lose my job today, I'm okay. I've got that money. If something happens, I'm okay. I've got that money. I mean, fair enough, this pandemic is going into the 3-year period. No one has cash cushion for 3 years. So, hopefully you don't need to rely on it that long. We'll talk a little bit about downloading an app. And I've just noticed I've got one there, that should be 4, and the next one should be 5. But start investing. If you haven't started investing, what are you waiting for? Is it fear of missing out that's driven everybody, and that's bad, or fear of jumping in that's actually holding you back? Because they're both as bad as I'm concerned. You hear of fear of missing out, don't jump in crazy like in the property market, do your research, and I agree. But fear of jumping in, if that's holding you back from investing, that's just as bad. So we'll touch a little bit on that. And then love thy super. I love my super. And I've been banging on about super for so long. Some people hate it, some people love it. But for me, especially at my age, over 50, 52 this year, it's a tax haven as far as I'm concerned. It is the most effective wealth investment strategy that we've got, I believe, in the sense it forces you to save. You've got time on your side, so you've got that compound interest, that dollar cost averaging. And let's face it, most of us, unfortunately, need to be forced to save. That's why we have a mortgage. You know, that forces us to put money away and put in our property. Super does the same thing. It forces us for a rainy day. And the fact that, you know, it's only taxed at 15% as opposed to my marginal tax rate, and then draw it down tax-free, I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. At least at the very least thing you can do is go up to the concessional contributions. That 27,500 is what you should be looking at. So that's kind of what I want to jump into. And I'm mindful, Bianca, I forgot, how long can I talk? Because I can talk for days if you want me to.
I know you can. Well, what I wanted to begin, if you don't mind, at some point, just having people just casually write in the chat where they're at with investing or any of those issues. For me, as a small business owner who's finally got our first investor this year, which is super exciting for Financy, my super has been being drip fed money over the past few years because it's been into my business. So I'm just wanting to know where everybody's at. So if you can keep going, Effie, but if people can let us know, are you investing actively or are you waiting for that? Just where you're at, anything like that.
And look, my partner is a small business owner, and I can definitely agree with that. He's super, zilch. You know, it needs love. But then there is that situation, I guess, with small business owners, that it is the cash flow, and it is do I say problem? It's just the priorities are very different, but it's something that even small business owners have to factor in, because if that business doesn't give you your return, your nest egg, then you've really put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. So the first thing I just wanted to run through pretty quickly. I'm not a behavioural economist. I think I've told you I'm not a financial advisor. I guess over 25 years talking, researching, writing money. I like to think I know a couple of things and actually practicing what I preach. But behavioural economics to me is very interesting. And this has actually come out from my latest book, Ditch the Debt and Get Rich. I did work with a behavioural economist in this chapter. The thing with knowing your money personality, this is where I do want you to spend some time just reassessing yourself and why is it what you do? Why do you, I mean, if you have a problem with credit, I've got a podcast with CanStar called Real Money. And I was interviewing this lady who, and she was gold. Her honesty just blew me away as to why she got herself in this mess. And for her, it was more of an emotional situation. She spent because it made her feel good. She felt she had to have the latest, the greatest to go out with her friends. She wasn't happy with herself at that stage. So there was emotional spending happening there. And when she got to the bottom of it, why she was doing what she did, it was basically her savior as to her to turn her life around. And sometimes being so confrontational with yourself, it's a little bit daunting, but it's something you've got to do. And look, this is really general. It was meant to be a bit of fun here of the money personalities that you have. And there are 5, but look, there are different shades of these as well. You know, the peacock is supposed to be the spender, the squirrel, the saver, the sloth is supposed to be, you know, they're slower animals. So the reason I chose a sloth is because you've got a lot of debt on you. You're weighing yourself down. You can't move through life as fast. The owl is the investor. And we all know who the ostrich is. You dig your head in the sand, the avoider. So if you can see some of these traits in there, it's then a case of, okay, what do I need to put in place to be more proactive rather than reactive? And you can be a combination. I certainly am a combination. I would say I am the peacock and the owl, and that's not unusual. But I know my triggers, and I have put fixes in place to prevent that. So that's kind of like, you know, something fun to have a look at. This is really interesting. When it comes to behavioral economics, God, we can justify the socks just about of anything. Have you ever actually heard yourself when you buy something or do something? Oh yeah, I need that. Yeah. Or no, I deserve that. I've worked really hard. I deserve that. So this justification is one of the reasons that we can actually, I guess, proceed with our sales. But these little marketing mind games that are out there, it's important to recognize them. And I think the main one there for me is, you know, buy now, pay later. I'm seeing so many, you know, people that reach me through my socials. It's a hindrance for quite a few people. And don't get me wrong, I think as far as a product, gee, it's better than sliced bread. You know, it's a great idea, isn't it? You know, it makes it so much easier. You know, instead of paying $400, it's $100. You can get it straight away. It's a brilliant idea. And when it comes to actually looking at it as a product, when you compare it to, say, a credit card costs more than buy now, pay later. So what's so wrong with buy now, pay later? It's that marketing mind game. And you can see there on that graphic just how it does play with your mind, and it is causing more people to spend. And there are lots of red flags there that can let you know that, hey, this isn't working for me. This is actually making me spend more because it's so convenient, and it's stopping me from maybe investing or your other goals that you have. And I wanted just to show this. I did a story, this is on CanStar. We did this a little while ago, but the information has not changed. It basically shows you, yes, you know, buy now, pay later, there is no interest. There are no fees if you're on time. Besides it making you probably spend more, it could. It's important to note that fees on small balances can have a huge impact. So you can see here the cost as a percentage of purchase value if you're one payment late. I mean, this is now substantial. And this is what a lot of people don't realize. And we know ASIC had research into how many people are late with buy now, pay later. But for me, the biggest concern with buy now, pay later is how it does change your behavioral spending. And just on the marketing mind games, there are quite a few marketing mind games, and I go through a lot of this in my book, you know, one-click ordering. Never, ever put your credit card details online and leave it in there. And it's not because of security. I'm no security expert, which is probably a security problem, but it's more so when you're back there again, it's so easy. Your details are in there. It's just one click, you're gone. You've done it. It's a barrier that's been removed from you to think on your thought process. Fear-based marketing. I pulled this out because it kind of works all the time, doesn't it? You know, when you're online and you see something, you go, bestseller, it's 52% off, and there's only one left. Oh my goodness, I've got to gut in, I've got to get it. Understand that these are marketing mind games. Walk away, give yourself a bit of a rest. You know, I've got a 48 rule. If I'm still thinking about that after 2 days, then rip into it and go for it. Chances are you're probably not worried anymore about it, and you won't actually buy it. I was reading an article from the CEO, this was a while ago, who set up Net-a-Porter. It's an online, it's a designer, very expensive site. And I'll never forget one thing I read, and this was a while ago, whereby she was saying that her best sales usually on a Friday night around 9 p.m. And I'm assuming most of her audience would be females. It's a designer, you know, site, and predominantly female, but they've got male clothes as well. And you know, she attributed that to the wine o'clock hour, a glass of red wine, hard day work, kids are in bed. I deserve this. And that was that kind of mentality I was talking about before, as triggers, and you need to put your fixes in place. I mean, there's decoy pricing. There was a great report by, I think it was National Geographic, where, and if you can go online, you can see this. They actually taped it, and they had some popcorn, one at $3, one at $7, and no surprise here, people took the $3 one because $7 is so much for popcorn. Then they put a decoy pricing in, and I think that was $6.50. And then you should have seen the turnaround. Everyone was saying, oh, you know what, I'm going to go the $7 one because $6.50, 50 cents more, I can buy that. That's not a problem. It changed the perception completely and changed the buying power of the purchasing decisions of people. So whilst I'm talking about popcorn, that decoy pricing applies with everything. Think about it. When you bought your washing machine, when you bought your car, that decoy pricing can affect everything we have. Free trials, I mean, you know, I just need to ask you, did you pick up a subscription service over the summer period, over the holidays? Did you pick up another subscription service during lockdowns? Chances are you probably did. You said, oh, I'm in lockdown. I'm just going to subscribe to Stan or Netflix or, I don't know, Apple TV. The kids need something, Disney. It's a free trial. I'll just do the free trial. Did you go back and change it, or have you still got it? It's interesting. Some data from Canstar Blue came out and said, I think on average, you've got about 4 of these subscription services. They're only small amounts, yeah, $10 to $15. But let me tell you, when you go and do that Excel spreadsheet, or if you do it on an app, if you've got 4 or 5 of these on a regular payment, gee, that money would be so much better going into, say, like an ETF over time than it would just having 4 or 5. I have a rule in our household, two only. If we want another one, we've got to drop one before we get the other one. If I do take up a free trial, I diary it to make sure I do cancel it. And look, it's only $10, but what is it? Small change makes big gains. So it's something to look at. Free cashbacks as well. You've got to watch out for that. And even on big ticket items. So, you know, when you look at home loans, so these are big ticket items. So, you know, maybe getting a free lipstick when you go on the counter at David Jones, that's not too harmful. But when you have stuff at this value, big ticket items, this is important to actually start doing some sums here. So at the moment now, there is a lot of cashback deals. These are the latest that we've got on Canstar here. So you got Rams giving $4,000 away to bring your home loan over, $3,750, ING $3,000, Suncorp $3,000. This is great. You would think, wow, yeah, I'm going to give my home loan to them. What you actually have to do is do some sums and see, well, is this offer good? Because this is a marketing game and they want your business. And when you're dealing with a home loan, it's very important because interest rates now are rock bottom. They're not going to be like this forever. We've already seen fixed rates go up. Variable rates, you know, there's no reason at the moment for lenders to be increasing variable rates. There's a lot of competition here. Normally, when I do the analysis here, the cashback home loans don't come out in front. But you'll be pleased to see, I did the analysis, this is this morning through Canstar, and it actually is, you're better off with this cashback deal in this particular case. But you can see the analysis that has to be done here to work out, are you better off or not? So I can walk you through this quickly if you're interested, but it shows. What I wanted to find out is, show me the cheapest cashback deal, and that's 1.88, and you get $3,200 odd back. Then show me the cheapest home loan, say for 2 years. And I've fixed 2 years because you've got that kind of, okay, I know rates aren't going to go anywhere on this. So, you know, I've locked in those savings, so to speak. The cheapest one now is 1.89. That's because rates have gone up. It's actually dearer than the cashback loan. So long as this cashback loan stays at 1.88, if you actually you grab that $3,000 and you blow it on whatever, you still pay less interest in the first 2 years on that deal than with the other one. So 18,347 compared to 18,446. If you throw that money back in your home loan, you save even more. It's not too much. It's almost, they're almost fairly the same. Now, normally when I do this, the cashback deals don't come out in favor, but because they're so low at the moment, they are. So the reason I'm showing this is that I actually had to do a process here to work out, am I better off doing this? Don't just take offers on face value, especially when it comes to financial products. You really need to do some analysis.
Can I just jump in there? Because there's a few people at chatting away, some of which are, there's a lot going on here. So there's people investing in ETFs, looking at that. Superannuation, we've got a discussion there happening. People buying property for the first time, though, is I'm jumping in on this cashback home loan. So at the moment, are you saying the cashback home loans are really trending, but you can actually come out in front if you go for one of them?
Okay, so let's talk on property. So everybody, we are crazy in love with property. I think CoreLogic data showed at the end of last year, property returned just over 20%. Are kind of property analysts expecting something like this next year? No, they're not. And there is a number of factors why hopefully the property market should subside a little bit. We've got interest rates moving up, the inflationary pressure there. I already said 2, 3, 4, 5-year fixed rates are going up. So that's kind of making people a little nervous. Home loan lending is still there, which means the pressure is there. Investors are jumping more in the market now as well. But because we've also got APRA, they changed their lending restrictions to make it a little bit harder to get loans in the sense. What I mean by that there is that when you go to a bank, they will assess it not at these cheap rates, but at a bit of a higher rate. There's got to be a buffer there. So that will knock out a few people. So basically, what's hoping is that this will be enough to cool the market a little bit. To jump into the property market, there is still a lot of help. You've got the first home loan deposit schemes where you can jump in with just a 5% deposit and the government guarantees the rest and can avoid lenders' mortgage insurance. It's really important that if you do take on a home loan this year, that you can afford it. You don't want to put yourself in financial hardship, that you ask your lender, what interest rate are you assessing this on? Because you've got to realize, you grab a $500,000 mortgage. If rates move by 2%, that's going to change your household dynamics completely when it comes to your budget. What I'm saying with these cashback deals, if you've got a home loan, I would suggest you have a good look at what interest rate am I paying. And I actually did download the minimum standard variable rate right now is 1.77%. Check out what are you paying. If you're paying more than that, then ask yourself, should I be getting a better deal? Now, let me just get some disclaimers here. 1.77, I haven't got who that is. I'm assuming it could be, maybe reduced.
That's crazy cheap. Is that what, 1 year or 2 year?
That's a variable, Bianca, but I've got a funny feeling that 1.77, you may need 40% equity or 40% deposit. So the more equity you have in your home, the better the rate you get these days.
So if you're getting a loan for the first time though now, are you sitting at around 3%?
You may not be eligible. No, even still, look, the average is 3.29 standard variable. The highest is 5.29. Who that is, I don't know, but I would not be paying 5.29. I guess what I'm trying to...
Where do you think those rates are going based on your work with CanStar?
Oh, look, the fixed rates will... there's still some below 2%. I've got a 2-year fixed rate at 1.89 and a 3-year at 1.98. These aren't going to last because of the inflationary pressure. Basically, the cheap funding to banks have ended. That's going to move forward. When you look at, without getting so complicated, when you look at forward indicators, your fixed rates are going to move before your standard variable rates. So if you do want to lock in, then I probably wouldn't lock in at 1 year, because you lock in at 1 year now and you may get a rate at, say, 1 year cheapest is 1.59, the standard variable is 1.79. By the time you get out 1 year, you're in a completely different market. You've missed probably some good 2 or 3 year fixed rates. They've gone up. So without telling you what to do in your home, because that's very personal, you really need to just basically check. I just told you 1.77 is the cheapest. The average is 3.29. What are you paying? If you're paying more than that, I suggest you, A, look around and see what are the cheapest deals. B, go speak to a mortgage broker. They are free, but do know that they don't have every single loan on their platform because they get paid a commission. They tend to have most of them, but they won't have the cheapest ones. I don't think Reduce is on their books. But then at least you've done your own research. You've gone to a mortgage broker. You're then in the driver's seat to say, hey, why did you offer me this loan when I found out this was cheaper or this? And they'll give you a reason why, and then you can move ahead. So you're going to find the biggest savings in your household budget by checking your home loan and making sure you're on a good deal.
So we've just got Emma on the line, who's who is a mortgage broker.
Yeah.
You feel free to jump in here, but what I wanted to know is for the person that is asking about buying and getting into property, should they be going with one of these cashback home loans, or should they consider a cashback home loan given that they're coming?
Okay. So these cashback home loans are to refinance. So no,
okay.
Yeah, so sorry, that's my apologies. I should have been clearer. I would love to get 3,000 just to go with someone. These tend to be to refinance your home loan.
Okay, so looking for a better deal. Okay, we'll keep moving then.
Yeah. Just take the tips that I was saying before as far as you're going for your first new home loan. Have a look at those, what you're paying rate-wise. Now, going back to your budget, like I said, I spent last weekend going through mine, and that's where you'd have a look. Okay, your home loan, what am I paying? Can I do better? What's my energy bills on? What's on, so on, so on. For me, if you are in a bit of dire straits, I do go on about a bare bones budget, but I won't waste too much time on that. If you can relate to that payday life, circle, then I suggest you do a bare bones budget ASAP. I have a lot of people that kind of do live by this. They get paid, they feel rich, that euphoria, they go out on that weekend. I don't know why, but we tend to get paid on Thursdays, Fridays if you work for someone. So they fuel you up for the weekend. You unload it, you then realize you've got bills. You may be tempted by buy now, pay later, and then you're going, when's payday? When's payday? That's when you need to get on a bare bones budget and get that cash cushion. For me, the cash cushion is the most important thing you can do. How much should be in there? Well, look, a lot of experts, financial advisors may say 3 months, 6 months. That's a lot, 6 months of salary. That's a lot of money that people would not be able to put in. For me,
how do you do a bare bones budget though? Because you were saying that I love this, that you enjoyed going through a year's worth of finances over the weekend. I couldn't think of anything worse. And my head's in finance all the time. So you downloaded all your statements and then you put it all into Excel. Is there a?
I do.
Did you use the Smart Money app or anything? Is there anything you go to?
I have an Excel doc I've built. I go into it every year.
What are the key columns you put in it then?
I have everything that I spent. Everything is in there. And these days with our digital footprint, you'd be surprised how easy it is to get all this information. So it's all highlighted there. And then for me, it's a case of I highlight the big items that are coming out and then question, do I still need this? What is this for? Am I in the best deal? And then, that's all I did in one weekend. That took a long time. Then I will hit one of those items per week. So if it's my energy bill, I'll tackle that. If it's my health insurance, I'll tackle that. If it's my car insurance, which I did before that was renewed at the end of the year, I did that. I saved $340 on my car and home and contents insurance just by doing that. You will be surprised just how much you will save by doing this. Now, this bare bones budget is really if you haven't got a cash cushion. Or you're in a bit of a mess. And what that is, include your essentials. So that is things like if you rent, your mortgage, your electricity, what you need to put food on the table and a roof on your head. Exclude everything else, cut it out, get rid of it, just for at least 3 months. Redirect that money into a cash account to build that cash cushion. You're not going to be able to save if you still have, Uber Eats coming in. You're, you're catching Uber. I've just got Uber on mine. Or you've got all these streaming services. You're going out on Sunday doing this. You're doing brunch. You're buying something. Get rid of every non-essential just for 3 months. It's painful. It's going to be hard, but that will pump up your cash cushion. And once you start seeing that, then you get excited and it's a little bit easier to sacrifice once you see that. So that's what that bare bones budget is basically about. And then you talked a little bit, Bianca, some questions around investing. I mean, you're a bigger expert here as well yourself, but I'm happy to just go through what I was about to talk about, but are there specific questions?
So we've got some people are investing in ETFs. Jump in and come off, by all means, come off mute if you like. Yeah. So there's ETFs, people are investing in ETFs, some have starting at about $5,000. Some have ETFs for children's accounts, which I think is an awesome idea if you're in the right type of ETF. What have you got to show us here?
Look,
is that an ETF?
This is I've used InvestSmart. Oh, I've gone back. I've used InvestSmart's. They crunch those numbers for me. It's just a compounding interest calculator. So just full disclosure, I do sit on the board as an independent director for InvestSmart. It is a robo advisor. There are others out there as well. I can name them: StockSbox, SixPark, Spaceship. There's quite a few different places. I do love ETFs. I am personally invested in them. My kids are invested in them as well. And I like them because, for me, they're like a no-brainer. You still get an expert managing your investments. They do track an index. So what that index is, if you're not too sure, you probably hear on radio, reading the papers, on TV, whatever, online, the ASX 200 is sitting at 6,400. That's a basket of index. So the best way I can explain ETFs is, think of it this way. Think of a shopping trolley, you're going along, your experts putting things in this shopping trolley. They're the companies, the investments that are tracking a specific index. So is it the ASX 200? Is it international shares? Is it property? They put that in there for a fee, a small fee too, and that's what you need to really look at. What are these fees? They then invest on your behalf. And so, look, record numbers of money have gone into ETFs. I think Vanguard has probably been the biggest recipient of it, one of the oldest ETF providers. And I actually find that it's just a simple way to invest. Yes, I have shares in companies directly. That takes a little bit more work and a little bit more time. But I think it's a great way also to just get started with investing. Do take care, depending on the platform, you could be charged a brokering fee each time you do invest. So brokering fees can be quite expensive on small balances, and if you're constantly pumping money in, you will be charged a brokering fee, so you need to cover those. You have a lot of micro investing sites you've probably heard of, like Raise, Comset, Pockets. Again, my kids started off with that. Great way to dip their toes and understand, but they've since moved on now and gone directly into ETFs. Some of them have gone through a robo-advisor, and others, well, both of them have invested directly into one.
I might just talk about that for a second, because if you are looking to get investing, regardless of a microfinance or an ETF, my playing around with some of the microfinance apps, if you are not continually topping that up and have a bigger balances, it's absolutely not worth your effort. And it's something that, I'm yet to write about publicly, but I don't know if, but it is pretty well known that unless you've got a decent balance and you're constantly going at it, it's not a set and forget.
No, and I would definitely agree. And that's something that we actually do have on our site, that, small balances, big impact with these, even though the fees can be really low, like $2.50 a month, you may think, or $3, whatever it is, it has a big impact on your end result. So that's why, when you're tracking something like an index, if everyone's tracking the index, what's the variable here that's different? Fees. So if someone doesn't charge high fees, you're going to get a better return there. So fees are so important.
So how do you, is there a, this is difficult because you're going into advice land here, but maybe there's I don't know, does CanStar, does any other comparison website, is there places you can go to really look at the fees in a transparent way, in a very transparent way? Is it the ASX? Is it?
You have to, unfortunately, read the product disclosure statement, ask, and don't be afraid to get some financial advice. A good financial advisor, they've come a long way, I've got to say, since I first started reporting. I'm really liking the ones that are actually your money buddy and coaches as well. And you don't, that myth that you need to have money to see a financial advisor is not true, but though unfortunately there's still got a bit more to go about fees with them. They can be quite expensive. But look, the simplest thing is, thankfully, most product disclosure statements on these products we're talking about, I've gone through, and their statements are easy to read. So you really do have to, everybody's a salesperson. You have to take an interest in your own affairs and read up, because knowledge is power. And that is that fear of jumping in that I was talking about. One way to overcome that is get that knowledge. And that little table there just shows you the magic of compound returns. If you've been afraid to jump in, you do miss out on that. And normally, typically, it's around year 10 or over where you start seeing your investment does more of the heavy lifting than your deposits do.
I've got two more questions just quickly. Someone's using a NAB trade account, paying about $15 a month per trade. I think she's... forgive me, Joe, if I'm saying this wrong, you're trading at about 2.5, or you've got about 2,500 in there. Is $15 a trade reasonable for brokerage?
It's not the cheapest.
I'm saying that wrong.
Yeah, look, it's not the cheapest. The cheapest, I think, is $5 per trade that's out there. I think that's with Superhero. It's not the cheapest, but look, I know NAB Trade. It's got great information, great resources, and so on. So I'm going to leave that decision, and that's pretty much on par where all the major ones are. It's it's definitely not expensive. It's not the cheapest, but then I think you also do have to weigh up, well, what do I want out of my broker? Do I want research? Do I want some kind of partial assistance? Do I want reports to help me choose my stocks? Then you've got to do some research and work out, well, what value am I getting for this $14?
Cool. The only other question I had is, and I want you to keep moving on because we've got 15 more minutes, is if you have just sold out of property, and this comes from another question, should you be, and looking at these timeframes, these are big timeframes where you see these rewards, should you park some of that wad of cash, and we know so many people are sitting, or some lucky people are sitting on a lot of cash in offset accounts according to APRA, should they be parking this money in shares, in ETFs, or should they just be keeping in cash and doing what you're doing, searching for that honeymoon period cash rate best deal they can find?
Right. Look, that's getting more into personal advice. But what I can say, if you've got a wad of cash, I mean, especially if you've got a lot of cash, if you sold a property, that's where you really do need to maybe talk to an expert. What's your next goal? What's your time frame? I mean, if you have a mortgage and you've got a lot of water cash, obviously your offset account there is a good place to do it. But then you may get an advisor saying, well, you know what, Mary, your mortgage is only 3%. Returns out in the market can be, around 10%. You may be better off investing that money. But that's where you need to get professional advice and make that money work. The only reason I've got money in a cash account, that's my cash cushion. That's in case of disaster. We're in a disaster, but that's in case something happens and I need cash fast. I wouldn't be putting my wealth growth into a cash account. No way. Yeah, look, whether you should be putting money in your offset account, whether you should invest it, they're great questions, and there's merit even right now to be investing rather than dumping it in, your mortgage because of the returns. But you really do need to speak to an expert on that.
And so that's going into personal advice. I will flag, though, that earlier in this conversation, economists are saying that property prices are set to fall towards the end of this year and into 2023. So I'm wondering if there's deals to be had in the property market on the horizon if you're sitting. Anyway.
I also report that property will fall about 30% off some bank data.
30%. Wow. No, that's more, because I read 10%. Shane Oliver was saying 10% this year.
No. I guess what I'm saying, Bianca, is that, look, they're all forecasts. So yeah, it's hard to really pinpoint anything. But they're good discussions, and we need forecasters.
Yeah. Okay, keep going.
Okay, where was I? Again, this goes back into property. Like, there are so many great calculators online where you can actually Put a goal in place. Nothing will happen if you don't put a plan in place. And I hear a lot of people say, look, okay, I want to start saving. I don't know how much. I'm never going to get there. Until you actually crunch some numbers, you won't. And I like this calculator because it also takes into consideration inflation. And it just shows you what dedication you do need. If you want to save 150,000, and you're going to give yourself to 2030, you actually need to pop away $350 per week. That 150,000 by the time 2030 comes around you'd actually need 183,000 because of inflation. So it's a really good motivator to say, okay, well, it's not going to just happen. I actually have to put $350 away per month for this to happen. How am I going to do it? Well, I can find $350 in my budget this way. I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to stop doing this. Or I'm going to get a side hustle and get money this way. If one thing that I have noticed is the amount of side hustles that people have brought on as well. I mean, reporting on the Today Show every day, a different story. I've come across so many great case studies of people making, a good income from side hustles, and that has enabled them to reach some of their financial goals. Rightio, and super. So just quickly with super, like I said, I'm a bit biased. I do love super. And I understand not everyone may have that extra cash to put in there. But even as a small business, putting money in could be a tax deduction up to the concessional. So it's something to speak to somebody about. There's a great little calculator that I always refer to called Super Detective, and it's from Super Guru. And you just type in the age, the year you were born, and it will tell you how much super you should have if you're after a comfortable retirement. And look, what's a comfortable retirement? Oh, look, you can slice and dice these numbers any which way you want. I'm just using ASFA's figures there. But so, you type in, if you were, say, 45, you should have 207,000 in your super right now if you're trying to reach that comfortable retirement to retire on. And, everyone wants to know, oh, who's the best super fund? Where should I put my money? This is just a guide. Past performance is by no indication a guarantee of future performance. But look, you can remember when the pandemic first hit, one of the most popular questions that I kept getting was, I'm really worried about my super. I'm going to take everything out of balanced or growth. I'm going to put it in cash. Wow, did super do an amazing turnaround? And those people who moved their cash crystallized their losses. Super is a long-term investment. And I get it. If you were about to retire that year, that would have been bad. I get that. But for most of us, it is a case of trying to ride out the bumps and understand that. This just gives you a good indication of where some of the super funds are. It's important that you have a look at your super statement. Are you paying too much in fees? These are balanced super funds. And a simple formula to work out that is get your total fees, divide it by your balance, times it by 100. If it's a balanced fund, you want that around 1%, even less if you can. If you're paying more than that, then you're paying too much in fees. And again, it's these fees that can really hit your end nest egg. So
can you give me that formula again? Total fees.
Yes, total fees divided by your balance times 100. That just gives it to 1%. Yeah. So that's a nice little, and be careful with your statements, because normally they'll have some fees up top, then they'll have the other fees down the bottom. You want both of those fees. And learn to love your super, because it is your money. And a lot of people forget that it is our money. And there are a lot of changes happening again this year with super. So on the 1st of July, the super guarantee is scheduled to go up again by 0.5. And then there's a whole raft of changes happening more for seniors as well. The work test hopefully should be abolished. That 450 threshold, that will help a lot of people in the gig economy, or even a lot of women that have several different jobs. But if you don't earn more than 450 for one of those jobs, you don't get paid super. So hopefully that threshold goes as well.
What are your thoughts on, because we could see, thank you very much. You've gone to the last slide.
Oh, you want me to go back to
No, that's fine.
Yes.
Unless anyone else wants to, it's probably, just leave it, it's all right. Given that super employer super contributions are going up, we could see wages growth even not grow. I can't believe I'm saying that. It hasn't grown. We haven't seen it grown for years, but the delay in any growth continue. as more money from small businesses is put into supporting superannuation. So do you think are you big on salary sacrificing? Do you see that being more prevalent? Should employees take it up more if cash in the hand is less? Should you be trying to filter more of that? I don't know. I'm trying to talk through this.
Yeah. Look, and that's a real big debate, isn't it? That if we keep continuing increasing the SG, does that impact wage growth? We haven't seen wage growth for so long. Would we have had wage growth if SG wasn't increased? If we say no to SG, are we losing out on both? All really good questions. And I do feel the pain of small businesses as well on this. I think from the consumer side, look, you may have thousands of other priorities, and I get that. You know, a low income earner would far rather probably see that money sitting on, you know, in their accounts so they can put food on the table. We've also had that retirement income report that did say that, you know, 9.5, I think it was 9.5, was enough. We don't need to increase it. It will reach our goals. A lot of us are actually getting quite an amount of wealth through super, and so it doesn't need to go up anymore. There's a whole lot of debate around that. For me, I would guess, you know, it depends on your situation, doesn't it? It's easy for me to say salary sacrifice and put it in there, at the very least up to the concessional contributions, because it's there. And if you're on a high income earner, it makes sense. If you're on a low income, I've got to be honest here. In a lot of cases, you may never get to that threshold, and your salary sacrificing and missing out on what you want to give to your family right now. It may be a case where you need to speak to an advisor and find out what is that sweet spot. I don't earn a huge income. I don't get a lot of that benefit. I'm not on, you know, the highest tax bracket. So, you know, there's not that much benefit. What is that sweet spot where I'm going to have to rely on the pension and the super to give me a decent income so I can continue living now as well? These are things you need to talk with your advisor as to what's the best thing.
I'm just wondering if even $50 a week.
Yeah.
I read a great piece by Susie Orman, money guru in the States, talking about this extra 10%, find that extra 10% per month.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts around minimums. Can they compound to have wonderful?
Of course. And look, I myself actually have my super on my bank as a BPay. So I BPay into my super. I get paid every fortnight, and I do salary sacrifice. And once the way I set up my finances, everything, once I get paid, it all gets dispersed to where it has to go. And I have lots of buckets and name them, whether they're expenses, I've got a splurge account. I've got the kids accounts. God bless kids. If you've got kids, they're the biggest money pits you'll ever have. That's the only thing I'll talk about on kids. But I do actually, whatever's left, if I've got, Bianca, $50, I will BPay it into my super. And the way, the reason I love the BPay, it's so simple. It's just a press of a button, $50, bang, in there. So yes, small change makes big gain. And you can actually see that the Super Guru has a great little calculator where you can just show what little amounts do into your super. Yeah, I'm a big fan of small amounts. And especially, like I was saying, it depends on where you are in your age group. For me, it makes absolute sense. For someone who's in their 20s, my daughter's 21 soon. She does have a part-time job, you know, super sorted, but is she going to salary sacrifice major amounts? No. You know, her priority now is saving and you know, jumping into the property market.
I just found that Super Guru calculator, and I've shared it with everybody in case you want to just see what adding a small amount can do to your superannuation. So we'll just go off mic if anyone wants to ask questions here about the areas that we've covered during this presentation, because people have been coming on as we've been chatting. So we've really gone through full circle without delving right into asset classes. We've talked around it a bit, but that importance of doing that, the review, the budgeting review. We've talked about the budgets. We've talked into some asset classes and things like that. We've talked on superannuation. The big thing I'm taking away from it is looking at the spending patterns not just the earnings, beyond the earnings. I think that's really critical at this time of year when we're all kind of self-auditing and looking at that at the moment. Is there any investment trends that you are eyeing off for the year ahead?
For me, I am just being consistent. I will continue to build up my investments in ETFs. I will cherry pick a few stocks. I'm looking at, I mean, obviously, the ones that have taken the hardest hits are those that have had a direct link to the pandemic. Are there value in some of those? I may be looking, but for me, I keep it simple. I will continue to build my super. I will continue to add contributions into my investments, which are diversified, and disclosure, yeah, they're ETFs at the moment.
And mindset, you are a very energetic person. How do you get energized to get into this stuff? I mean, obviously everyone on this call and the members that will watch this and catch up, they're wanting to progress. They're wanting to make this impact. Is there anything you say to yourself to keep that energy going?
I say this quite a bit when I do webinars, and it's so true. My greatest fear is retiring in a polyester outfit and drinking cask wine. So jokes aside, no, I love what I do, and I just find money, the economy, really, really interesting, and I love sharing knowledge, and I really do get a kick out of finding something to share with somebody. I really do, and I guess that keeps me, waking up each morning at 5 a.m. Yeah, I do. It's so much easier to get your money to work harder than you work harder. Having said that, I do work hard, but I do enjoy talking money. Oh, I can't hear you.
Emma's just saying here that some economic experts are anticipating wages growth because of a skills shortage.
And that's already happening. That's a really good point, depending on what industry. So I was reporting on this probably towards the end of the year, middle part of that, and speaking to like Seek, LinkedIn, Hayes, and so on. In some industries, we've already got wage growth, huge wage growth, especially in those IT sectors as well. There is wage shortage, and in those areas, people are definitely getting paid more, but it's not in all sectors at the moment.
And how do you break down a large financial goal that seems unachievable, like saving for a house deposit? This is a great one.
Yeah, we touched a little bit on that. Things look huge at first. You think, oh my gosh, I've got to get 200,000 to put a 20% deposit down, say in Sydney. There are ways you can cut that, of course. First home loan deposit scheme if you're eligible, stamp duty concessions as a first home buyer, jumping in with your partner or friend or something like that. There are ways you can cut corners. But then what you need to do is break it down. And that was that graph I was showing you before. $350 per week sounds so much more doable than 200,000. There's no magic here. Unfortunately, I don't have something to say to you that, bang, you've got your property. You won't. You've got to work hard for it, but put in a plan and break it down per week and put that in place. And see if you can cut corners, like I was saying the other ways. Are you better rent vesting? Do you buy in another state where things aren't as high? There are ways to cut corners, but at the end of the day, it's going to mean you putting in a plan and you putting something aside each week.
And I think even that our friend, the mortgage broker who's on the chat, might be able to add to this. Buying in a regional area that is tipped to grow. I mean, location is critical, but doesn't have to be in your ideal
regional areas
suburb.
Regional areas have seen absurd growth. And actually, there's a great report that I worked on at CanStar with hotspotting. I urge you to get on that. It's called Rising Stars. So hotspotting, Terry Ryder has been looking at properties for decades, and his business is in Brisbane. And what we looked at, properties around Australia on both a regional and city area, what are the top 10 suburbs? In some cases, we didn't even get top 10. We just couldn't find them. There were top 5 in some of the regional areas. I urge you definitely, if you can get that Bianca up and just put that link there, that would be great. He knows his stuff. And what we then overlaid that with is, what does it cost to buy in that area? Your upfront fees, what will be your mortgage repayments as well to have a look at. Regional properties have seen an absurd amount of growth, and a lot of people have overpaid for their regional properties. So take care. And they've pushed a lot of people in regional areas out of the market because, you know, city slickers have come in, sold at a huge price, and they're dumping a lot of money in there. There are still some great buys, but for example, you know, we talk about this in the report, if you want to buy in Byron Bay, forget that. You want to buy in Noosa, forget that. But there are areas, that ripple effect, that you may be able to jump in, but you'll be surprised as well just how, you know, they're going up. I did a report on the Today Show, even rental prices in regional areas have gone crazy. So take care, because of this whole thing of us now being able to work at home. We are picking and choosing wherever we want, and regional areas have seen astronomical growth.
And I suppose the other thing too, you said earlier that 5% deposit if you are a first home buyer.
First home deposit scheme, yeah.
But there, I think there might actually be, it's worth investigating the other, what other limits there might be, depending on like how much you actually have to save up versus how secure your income is, and all these different things. There might be other ways to skin that cat. I know for myself, it was a matter of, when I eventually got in, it was a matter of showing the consistency of employment and things like that, selling a car, doing these other things. My side hustle now is selling frangipanis when I'm not doing, but that's more of a love thing of gardening. But just a couple of other questions. Sustainable investing, sustainable mindset, it's really big at this point in time. I looked at a couple of the funds that you had on that list, and they were sustainable funds, but I don't know if they were ethical balanced funds. Yeah. So that word is banding around a lot. How do you define it? What is your thoughts on it?
It is, and it's growing. I know InvestSmart recently launched an ethical ETF. People are wanting to invest their money in areas that are doing good, and that is just growing. That is a simple fact. They are becoming very popular, and the returns, as you would have seen, have done well too. And that's just a growing demand, Bianca. Absolutely.
Negative gearing. Thoughts on negative gearing? Should you be investing it to negatively gear a property at this point in time? Data is pointing that more investors are jumping into the property market. The yields are there, the returns are going in. This is where a good accountant could really help you out. Are you better off buying your first home as an investment versus a home loan? And in some cases, it could work. I mean, take care with everything. You are making a loss to get your negative gearing. So, and it's a little bit hard too with a lot of things with low interest rates at the moment to find a property that will be negative geared rather than positive geared. So worth talking to an accountant about. Paying down your home loan in this environment. Seems like that's really happening for a lot of people, and smart if you do have an offset account, I suppose.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer in the sense, record low interest rates, get that monkey off your back. I mean, some people may say you should, invest elsewhere because of the reasons why I was saying before, but it's always good to get rid of debt, and debt that is non-tax deductible as well.
Okay, any other questions? I feel like we've gone a little bit over time, but if there are any other ones, just come off mic and let me know. Otherwise, I have loved having you on, and I feel it's been very well engaged, this masterclass. So I hope everyone's got a lot out of it, and you feel ready to take some action on whatever the goal it is, the big, hairy, scary, audacious goal that might be. The sooner you start chipping away at it, the better. That's all I can really say with any goal, is you just have to chip. You just have to chip and chip and chip away, whether it's starting a business, whether it's starting that investment, whether it's doing your budget. It is just seriously breaking it down and chipping away at it. And as you said, I mean, if you have the capacity to save $350 a week, great. You'll really get there, but most people don't. So work out what you have to save and start there, either investing or saving. You've got a couple of other... No, you've just got thank yous. I don't know if you can see the chat, but you've got some lovely thank yous.
I'm just in it now. Oh, look, that's good. I'm glad. I hate wasting people's time. And I hope I was just a little nudge that you needed to kind of start thinking about your own affairs. And I get that. I agree. $350 is a lot of money, but I guess that just gives you an idea to go through your budget. Where can I cut? Where can I gain? Can I make more? And just be the best financial version of yourself. Don't compare yourself with anybody. Just be the best you can do on your situation. And yeah, no, I thank you so much. And if you do get a chance, I would like to plug one thing. Just try listen to the podcast, because I've got some gorgeous people on there. Then they're telling their real money stories, and a lot of it's very raw. And it's you won't hear much of me, which is great. It's really these people revealing their money woes and how they've overcome them, and what set them back and how to move forward.
Can I ask on that, how do you stay accountable? Because it's great that we're having this session. We're all going to go away and think about what we're going to do next. How do you keep yourself accountable? How can we keep each other accountable?
Yeah, and that is either, if you do want to talk to a friend and establish that relationship. For me, I'm a real list person, and it's really simple. Each year I slap on my goals. I keep it really simple, 2 or 3 max. It's on the front of my diary. It sits there, and I always see it, and I'm accountable to that. I guarantee you, once you start jumping on something and you see the benefits, you'll become addicted to it. Once you start seeing your little investment grow, once you start seeing your debt go down, it's addictive. So, but if you do need help, then set up some goals with some friends. You don't have to reveal everything, but you can have a chat. Set up a group where you get together and chat once a month. Maybe chat on stocks, or set up an investment club. I mean, they were big in the 80s, 90s. Bring them back. Do whatever it takes.
Well, you're giving me ideas now. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Effie, and thank you all so much for your time. I hope to send you some additional information as well to help you with your goal setting and accountability in the week ahead.